make my enchantments grow!
Only shooting stars break the mold.
This video and my channel are sponsored by Whatnot. Whatnot is the website you see behind me. It's a place for collectors to chat with other collectors as they do auctions, sales, and other cool things with the products that they love. Whatnot is a site where you get to stream while you're doing your unboxings. You can sell box breaks. It's really cool. I got to try it out last week, and I had a great time doing it. If you'd like to see Whatnot, you can sign up using the link in the description of the video to get $15 off your first purchase and directly support my stream. Thank you again to Whatnot. Hello everybody, and welcome to Brawl Stars. I'm Amy the Amazonian, and today I'm playing Calix, Guided by Fate. Calix is a new commander from March the Machine, The Aftermath, and a very, very strong one. Calix is able to be built as both general enchantments and also more specifically as auras. This deck, I will say, is closer to the just general enchantments deck, but I am making use of some of the aura synergy of this commander. Now, this commander is very strange because it has two separate sets of abilities. The first one is, whenever Calix or another enchantment enters the battlefield, you get a +1/+1 counter to put onto a creature. Awesome. But also, if Calix or another enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you create a token copy of another non-legendary enchantment you have, such as the aura you had on a creature. So you can only do that once each turn. You don't really have to manipulate this with things like First Strike and Double Strike, but we have some really, really strong enchantments that are worth doubling. I'm talking about things on the high end. Mirari's Wake, Nyx's Womb Ancient. Things on the low end, specifically talking about All That Glitters, Ethereal Armor, and Ancestral Mask. These three auras that grow with the number of enchantments, and in a deck like this, can get really out of hand really fast. So you have Calix to essentially fuel that big, powerful strike to then make more copies. If you're wondering, oh, but how do you get through? You don't have Trample. Yes, I do. Cartouche of Strength, as well as Citizen Training and Audacity, all here to help give these creatures Trample if we're going for the aura game plan. But just in general, we are an Enchantress deck, which means we're all about when you cast or have an enchantment enter the battlefield, you draw a card. And that does include, for the enter the battlefield, the copied enchantments from Calix, which is great. You got the double-double with all of these if you go for a little bit of token copying too, like Anointed Procession. I did not include Parallel Lives as well as Anointed Procession. I had it in the original build, but I don't think there's enough token synergy in my version of the deck to go for it. But Calix can make a copy of the Anointed Procession, which will then give you more token copies, which will give you more token copies, if that's the sort of thing that you're interested in. If you're really all about crashing Arena by making 250 tokens. I understand. It's very tempting. It's very fun. We all do it sometimes. One of the things with Calix, though, that can lock your opponents out if you get an early start in the game are these Banishing Light, Borrowed Times, and other O-ring effects. These kind of cards can lock your opponent out, because if they block and you have a big, strong Calix because you played lots of enchantments, their creature dies. If they don't block, you just exile it anyway with the Borrowed Time. Really puts your opponent into a pinch and gives Calix some very interesting lines of play, both as the person playing it and playing against it. So we're going to take Calix into the queue, and we're going to copy an enchantment or two. Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes. This is a commander so strong that it's actually banned in 1v1 dual commander. But that's not this. This is historic Brawl, where almost anything goes, and Minsc and Boo is part of what goes. Minsc and Boo does cost one more in Arena than its paper counterpart, but still does the exact same thing of make a Boo bigger, and can sacrifice creatures, throw them at people, and draw you cards, deal some damage. It has a fling effect on this minus ability that if you happen to be flinging a hamster, also draws you a card. The fact that they get a Boo every turn if you don't have a Boo is part of what makes this so hard to deal with. It means that you're always going to have two big pieces of value. You enter the battlefield, you get the hamster, and you make the hamster bigger, all in the same turn. But it looks like they've got other haste here. Lelia comes out, exiles the top card. They couldn't play it this turn, so we know that there's no longer a Goldspan Dragon in their deck. Do I want to go for Calix? Maybe make a Calix and make him big? or play the Archon of Sun's Grace to give myself something for when we start getting out more enchantments. Archon of Sun's Grace is not an enchantment itself, but when you have an enchantment enter the battlefield, you get a Pegasus, and those Pegasi have lifelink, so long as this is on the battlefield. Lelia, very scary, very strong, hopefully something I can still keep pace with. They exiled in a Braid. I wonder if they'll want to cast that, destroy my Arcane Signet. Oh, they're going for Minsc and Boo. Make it a Boo. And sacrificing Lelia to take out the Archon. This person knows how strong it is if I start spitting out tons of tokens. I think that they did make a good move there, especially knowing that, like, Boo can go off next turn. So let's start making a big Setessan champion. She's going to get bigger each time we have an enchantment and draw us a card. I was hoping to get a land, didn't get a land. If we're really desperate for land, we do have Restoration of Iganjo. I'm ready for this Boo. You can make that Boo big. I can make my Setessan champion big too. Lothis, currently not a creature, but will be exiling from our graveyards each turn, either dealing damage or getting mana. Do you attack in? Okay, I was gonna say, if you attack in, I'm not blocking. I'm scared. I think I'm very rightfully scared. Calix. Use an enchantment. We'll draw us a card. Audacity. Keep making the Setessan champion bigger. They've given her trample too. I'm going to do what I'm going to say is a kind of silly thing and ignore Minsc and Boo. Boo will get big, but I think I can get bigger, especially with this All That Glitters in hand. We have this Setessan champion doing everything here, including getting even bigger. Do I want more Audacity or do I want Sentinel size? I want the Audacity. I'm gonna throw that one onto Calix. So we have two trampling creatures. Setessan champion sees the copy enter the battlefield, draws us a card, gets even bigger. They're playing Gruul. Gruul is not good at removing big creatures. You have Chaos Warp, you have very large burn spells, and you have a few auras in green, but not enough. So Minsc and Boo. Boo is being sacrificed, probably to kill Calix. That's fine. I don't need Calix out here. And they're drawing cards. They're probably trying to find the pieces that they need to deal with our extra thick Setessan champion, our very funky, very chunky Setessan champion. Racketeer Boss is going to make it so some of the creatures in their hand have entered the battlefield. Make a treasure. Glory Bringer! This is an incredibly strong card, but can only deal 4 damage and doesn't offer that much blocking. Do they attack? And no, they're leaving everybody back as a blocker. I think it's about to get wild in here. Who do we want to start with? Let's go with Sithis. Sithis is stupid strong and should not exist as a card, but she does exist. So we're going to play her in this deck. Sometimes you just have to admit, the card shouldn't exist, but as long as it does exist, we'll keep playing it. Ooh, Authority of the Consuls would make their things come in tapped. But right now, I'm just going for the Turbo Champion. All That Glitters. On the Setessan champion, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to force them to block. And I think it's going to be a game. GG, Minsc and Boo. We're playing against Vraska Betrayal's Sting. Mono black, proliferate, card draw, and turning things into treasures. That's all the stuff that Vraska does. She's pretty cool, and does limit you to a very particular set of cards, being mono black. I do expect to see a lot of Planeswalkers in their deck, since that plus ability on Vraska, or I should say 0 ability, does proliferate and plays really, really nicely with a lot of the, well, Lilianas out there specifically. There's a lot of strong Lilianas, and they're all friends with this Vraska. Draw a card, lose a life, proliferate. It adds kind of a +1 ability. In general, though, it's really strong and it's really good. Do I want to get down Calix here? Or maybe get Audacity and Arcane Signet out? I'm going to go for the Signet and some Audacity. Swing in with my wee 3-1, the Kami of Bamboo Groves. If you're not familiar with this card, it's very similar to our Arboreal Grazer, but it also has this channel ability that can make forests into your hand. Check for traps. Oh, I do have an instant or a card with flash. But you're probably going to hit the Archon of Sun's Grace, right? Yup, it's gone. Very smart. Attack my hand. Calix comes out. We're going to put a +1/+1 counter onto the Kami of Bamboo Groves. Swing in. And now I can make a copy of either the Audacity or the Kami. I'm going to make a copy of Audacity. Throw it onto Calix. Spread the love. Make our Calix grow. We still have our Swords to Plowshares up in case they throw down a creature. But right now, the battlefield is depopulated with the exception of, you know, our Spirit and our desparked Planeswalker. Ooh, do we get to have another swing next turn? Sure looks like it. Cartouche of Strength I would like to save, again, for them having a creature out. It's not bad. It does give +1/+1 and trample, but I don't think it's necessary here, and I would rather wait to use it to fight. Calix, being killed. Very reasonable. Calix is dead. Move into the command zone and draw a card off the Audacity. Hello, Anointed Procession. We don't have enough mana to replay Calix, but I do have enough mana for this. Doubles my tokens when we make copies with Calix. And Calix himself does not need to hit. We just need this to hit. I wouldn't mind getting some extra tokens. Sounds very good. Dreams of Steel and Oil. Discards an artifact or creature, of which I have none. It's all enchantments. Vraska's Fall. No! My sweet little Kami! At least I get to draw a card. Oh, Kami of Transience. This can come back from the graveyard, and probably will at some point. I'm going to lead with Calix. Calix on the battlefield gives himself a +1/+1 counter. You want to play Vraska? Turn him into a treasure? I wouldn't blame you. I treasure my commander too. Cabal Stronghold, almost at the time where it's going to get more things. Oop, they just did a soul transfer and exiled it. Kami of Transience. Not gonna bother playing anything else here. You have creatures in your deck? I'd like to do things with creatures. I have removal and nothing to remove. Tablet of Completion. It is ramp. That is a bug in my face. Go blank. Okay, I'm going to drop the Seal Away and the Swords to Plowshares. My graveyard gets exiled. But I'm just out here like, I want to fight. I want to do violence. Please let me. Restoration of Iganjo lets me get a land. I'm going to go completely empty-handed here since this person really loves to attack hands. And I'm actually going to buff up this Kami of Transience. There's no fight ability and just swing and face. I'm saying, hey, Vraska, come out here, turn this into a treasure. I can bring it back from graveyard. Just do it. There comes Vraska. We got the Cartouche of Strength into the graveyard. And would I like to discard a card? Sure! It comes back for free! Hooray! Woo! Get a +1/+1 counter. We love it when you get a +1/+1 counter. If they try to hit my Calix here, I will sacrifice the Kami of Transience, and it will actually be able to come back if we sacrifice this Alseid. If they have a board wipe, they could do something cheeky like draw a card, lose a life, proliferate this, turn it into a creature, wipe the board. I think that would be cool. Aetherflux Reservoir? Are you a Paradox Engine combo deck? Because that's ridiculous. You get out of here with that. Aetherflux Reservoir. They got a Sculpting Seal coming in as a copy of the other Reservoir, Arcane Signet. Yep, they've got double reservoirs now, so they'll be gaining life. I'm in no rush to, like, get this into the graveyard and bring it back. I'd rather bank it as mana in case they destroy Calix again. They're losing a life, drawing a card, and proliferating the tablet. And also Vraska. Oh, believe it or not, Aetherflux Reservoir is not legendary. Let's see if we can maybe eke out some lethal here. We have an enchantment, enter the battlefield. I'm just gonna go for face. Bring them to 2. Oh, would I ever like to make some token copies? We could go for Anointed Procession, Architect of Restoration, or the Alseid of Life's Bounty. I'm going for the Alseid here. Anything short of a board wipe will have a lot of difficulty taking out this battlefield, since we have 3 different instances of protection we can use. They can draw a ton and gain a ton here, though, if they get the right cards. It's all about what they get here. They're at 1 life. Literally 1 life. Phyrexian Arena does gain them some life, but will also gain them whenever they get their next upkeep. And Sorin, who has no mirth. They're gaining some life. I imagine they're either going to make the vampire, which would be lethal since we can give protection from vampire, well, from black. See what they draw. The Tablet of Completion. Can you cast it for 1 mana? The answer was no. Oh, Michiko's Reign of Truth. Let's just go for the single hit. Calix, you know, it's your deck. I think you should get the buff. And I think you should be the one to finish this. So we're going to give this protection from black, swing in, deal a nice easy 15 damage, and win the game. GG Vraska. Queen All in All says, yes, more tokens and all in all. I like Queen All in All. I think she's a very cool card, and I like her combination of abilities. She gets bigger for the number of creatures you have, which rewards you a lot for playing lots of tokens, of which she makes more. When you have tokens enter the battlefield, you get an extra soldier token. So you get creature tokens, you get more creature tokens, and then you get 1 big funky chunky Queen All in All. Hey Amara, you would make tokens, even if you're tapped or if you attack. I'm going to have to decide, do I want to remove you from the battlefield? Weaver of Harmony. Swords to Plowshares. I'm just going for your face. Get in there, Destiny Spinner! Deal your 3 damage. Destiny Spinner is great to stop counter spells, and also just a really good, well-statted enchantment. Can animate lands in a pinch. Does a lot. Oh, look! Another thing that would be able to make tokens. We're removing it. Banishing Light. There's never ever been a Torrens on this battlefield. Banished him to the heavens. Up to 4 mana. Felidar Retreat. Landfall. Make a cat beast. Or put +1/+1 counters onto their creatures. Setessan Champion would be like a great setup card here. I'm gonna play Calix. These are both good setup cards. I'm calling them that because you're not getting that much value right away. But I'll be getting value very, very soon. This would be drawing me cards. This will be cloning things like the Banishing Light. Queen All in All, on the battlefield, landfall, get themselves a token and then a spare token. And then they join the dance, which makes even more tokens. Right now, you might be noticing I'm kind of missing, you know, the whole trample dealio. That's fine. I think we'll get there. I don't think I'll attack in, since Queen All in All is rather chunky. We could have turned her into a reprobate, gotten rid of her abilities, but I think what we're going to be using to win is one of our trampling enchantments. So we're going to have to dig to find that, and the way we dig is with Setessan Champion. Ooh, look at all these tokens! Weaver Harmony, you're cool because you can double my various exiling effects. I don't think I need you right now. Ooh, the Esper Sentinel. How about an Ancestral Mask, and we'll put it onto Satyr Champion. Extra big, extra chunky. Keeping up with Queen All in All. We just managed to draw a board wipe. Don't have enough mana for it, but if we have to, we do have the emergency exit button of there are no creatures on this board. Elder Gargaroth, Queen All in All. I'm gonna go for the Gargaroth, since all these +1/+1 counters are feeling rather spooky. It makes it to Satyr Champion grow. Aha! A land! Use that to play the Elvish Mystic. I have to not die. It's very important that I not die before we can do this. Tristani! +1/+1 to all the creatures, followed by a land. Maybe? Land is no. We could play Nissa, paying a bunch of life, destroying their Felidar retreat. That would make me feel a little bit more secure. I'm gonna pay 2 life. Get rid of this. Nissa, you're spooky. I kind of miss you being bald and having extra arms. They just healed her up in the Aftermath story. Kind of a shame. Swords to Plowshares on the Satyr Champion. Do you pay the 1? They did pay the 1. I gain 13 life, but I lose my absolutely ginormous creature and the enchantment that was making her so big. Do you attack my face, or do you attack Nissa? Looks like they're going to go for just enough to kill Nissa. And probably Queen All in All going for face. I'm happy to accept Nissa dying. I'm going to take trades, and we're going to hope to get another land for this farewell. Whoop. These ones are going to my face. There we are. Oh, they're assuring that cat that it won't be destroyed. We have enough mana since this Elvish Mystic survived the turn. And we say goodbye to all the creatures on the battlefield. We could also hit graveyards, but I don't think that's as important. And now we return to nothing. I've got ramp. I've got land getters. We're doing fine. We can play Calix again. Doing fine. Play the Nissen Wanderer. Wolf Willow Hollow, enchanting this plains. See if we get a land. We do. Man Tower, I'll play it. And Horn of Valhalla will grow their creature for the number of creatures they have. Queen All in All to start. Mentor of the Meek draws a card. This costs 3 to equip. Okay, cool. Had to make sure I remembered right. In the Trenches, I am 1 short of using the Exile ability on it. I'll make the Wanderer a little bit bigger. Aw, Lair of the Hydra or Sunpetal Grove. Lair of the Hydra is probably going to be better. Play in the Trenches, make these guys grow. Got this branch loft pathway. And chill. Nissen Wanderer both thinning my deck for lands and giving me a ton of value. Aww, they turned Calix into a little baby! Elish Norn, the Embiggener and Enshrinkener. How about this? I'll make my creatures get bigger with Mirari's Wake, and then use the doubled mana, because Mirari's Wake also makes my mana a little bit more effective, to take out that Elish Norn. And since I can attack with Calix, I will, which allows me to copy one of these. Which do I want to copy, though? Ooh, we've got so many choices. I could just go for the removal, I could go for the buff that becomes the removal, or I could go for the turbo ramp. I'm gonna go with In the Trenches. Just get myself these big buffs so I can block now and remove later. Play Lair of the Hydra so I can have a big animatable creature in a turn or two. Would you like to draw some cards? Horn of Valhalla! Queen all, hitting for 10! But since we gained all that life off that Swords to Plowshares, I can afford the hit. We use In the Trenches to take out... Mentor of the Meek. Play a land. Swing in with Calix. Assume this will just get jump blocked. And a hoof! Well, this hoof, even though this board is small, is probably going to be enough to kill me. I have to figure out how big of a lair can I make. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Which means X equals 9. X equals 10? I missed something there? That's fine. We also get the buffs from this. I think I'm surviving. Not like that, though. Not like this, though. Take trades. I don't want to think too much. Had I done it for X equals 1 more, would have been pretty big. Would have been pretty strong. We've got Calix. Just want to see here. Smothering Tithe first. Get the buff. Swing in. I'm gonna make a copy. In the Trenches. Buff you up some more. Use the mana. Take out the hoof. Play the land. Let's activate this. Get ourselves a 6/6 wolf. Ah, woo! And also get a treasure whenever they draw a card if they don't choose to pay the 2. Horn of Valhalla does give a slight buff. It costs a lot to equip, but they've got pretty much only mana. We're getting so much value off of these Calix hicks. Both of these are must blocks, but I actually don't think I have a great swing here, since they can block with this token. It pretty much forces me into a block here. I don't think that swinging with both is the right idea, even though like Queen all in all will get smaller as they have fewer creatures. Going to play this and pretend I have a better card in my hand. Huatli Radiant Champion! This is the Huatli that gets loyalty for the number of creatures you have, can buff a creature for the number of creatures you have, and also eventually gets to the sweet emblem of, yeah, make him big, make him strong, make him funky and chunky. Trade with the wolf! They have to do the trade since, well, otherwise I'm dead. Horn of Valhalla, onto the human token. Kenrith's transformation, I can make their token bigger, but it will draw me a card. Looks like they see what's going on here. They know they'll have to block. I'm going to be able to draw, and I guess that's going to be GG. Smiley face. Mono black sacrifices on the menu with Ayara, First of Locthwain. Ayara is an elf who has triple black in her casting cost, which is a great payoff if you're playing various devotion cards like Nykthos, for example. And she sacrifices black creatures to draw cards. Also, whenever a black creature enters the battlefield from under their control, I get drained for 1 life. She's really good with various sacrifice shells, and she's also able to just sit there and generate value, blocking, sacrificing, and oftentimes paying to bring back creatures from the graveyard back to the battlefield to do it all again. Got 3 mana. Not much to do off the 3. It's really just going to be play Calix and hope he doesn't die. If I have 4 mana, I can protect him with Tamiyo's Safekeeping. If I can manage to somehow draw enough green to line up triple green first, we can get Tribute to the World Tree. Lots of fun choices here. Undead Augur. Nice! Makes it so zombies dying will draw them cards. I got really lucky here, got one of the most powerful 2-drops, not just in this deck, but ever, Sithis Harvest Hand. A must-kill card, and kill it they must. They use Drag to the Underworld to destroy Sithis, which does at least leave me with a turn where I can just throw down Calix, guided by fate. Gets a +1/+1 counter from his own ability. R.I.P. Sithis, you were going to gain me life and draw me cards, but you died to hopefully protect my commander. Got 3 mana. And they're using it to murder Calix rather than play their commander. That's very, very fair. R.I.P. Calix. Hopefully we can get more stuff. Nice! Sanctum Weaver! Going to be able to tap for mana equal to the number of enchantments I have, which is currently 1. But hopefully 2 next turn? If Sanctum Weaver dies, then Mirari's Wake might not be able to come out since I do need 5 mana. But this is the kind of card that can help me get ahead and stay ahead, especially against a mono-black deck. Black has a few cards able to deal with enchantments. By that I mean very literally a few. Not very many. There's a very, very low number of cards. I'm going to play Mirari's Wake. Sanctum Weaver can tap for some mana, but we're just going to use this mana to protect her with the Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Mirari's Wake gonna let all these lands tap for 2. Love that for us. Also makes it so Sanctum Weaver taps for 2 just because now we have 2 enchantments. I can't really block. I do like, it appears that this Ayara deck is an Ayara Zombies deck. Just based on the Undead Augur, Murderous Rider. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is, but it would be cool. Ayara's coming onto the battlefield. Drains me for 1. I'm already down to 12 life. An Occult Conscript. Sweet. We play Calix. We've got this Ancestral Mask. Cartouche of Strength. Why'd you use both the green there? Oh no, it didn't. Let's make Calix bigger. And then we'll use Calix's exceptional size for some fighting. I'll fight the Ayara. We've still got a bit of mana left over, so I'm going to play Audacity. Now I've got a really fun choice of, do I want to swing in with the Sanctum Weaver in order to copy this Cartouche of Strength and fight something else? Or do I want to hold up this mana for all these protective spells? I roll aggro. I know what I'm about, and I'm going to make copies. I know I could also copy Mirari's Wake. Let's throw this one onto the Sanctum Weaver. And we'll fight the Undead Augur. They'll draw a card, lose a life, looking good. We've got a 6/6 and another 6/6 on the battlefield, the ability to make those even bigger using the Ancestral Mask. Ooh. That's a menace. Got some able to come back from the graveyard over and over. But not a ton of mana to do that yet. I want to let people watching this video, by the way, know that currently my chat has been discussing why Calix has a spark. If you didn't read the Theros Beyond Death story, it's because there wasn't one. And unfortunately, that means we don't really know that much about Calix's origin. In the little summary we got for the story, it's claimed that Calix was created by Clothes, but created from what and how? We don't actually know that kind of information. It would be cool to know, though. Speaking of things that are cool to know, it'd be cool to know how big we can make this Calix this turn. Going to use Ancestral Mask to get quite the buff. Really big, kind of chunky, little funky. Get down in the trenches. Do I want to attack with both here? Or do I want to exile something? I think we just swing in with both. We've got 30 damage, all with trample. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocking potential, gaining 3 life off that block. Which is, well, not great for them. They put everything in front of the Sanctum Weaver. I will protect her using the Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Let the damage resolve. They gain the life, and they're left at exactly 0. GG, Ayara, First of Lothwain. Hidden Pants is playing Atali, Primal Conqueror. I feel like I recognize Hidden Pants' name. I don't know if I've played against them before, or if it's somebody from my channel. Let's see. Razorverge Thicket. Lovely little bit of mana in both of my colors. As we go up against the Crimosaurus, they're going to be ramping, trying to get this Atali out so they can steal cards from both players. I know it's not stealing if it's from yourself, but you get to cheat it out into play. That's awful spicy. We've got either Weaver of Harmony or Arcane Signet here. We'll go for the Weaver. Let's get full-on Enchantress going on in here. Weaver of Harmony doubles some enchantment abilities and can also give my other enchantment creatures +1/+1. I don't have anything I'd really want to be doubling here. I just kind of want to get a good creature out for Calix. Do you bolt the snake? I'll give it a +1/+1 counter. 2 3/3s on this battlefield, both very boltable. We're using Beside You. This is an enchantment, so that does work. And it will let me grab a card of a basic lands type. I'm going to actually get down this Temple Garden. I'm going to pay 2 life, because I can use this to copy Calix's ability and make this into a 4/4. Slightly less boltable. Beanstalk Giant, they ramp. I have a Beside You too. Oh, and they have a blocker. Kami of Bamboo Groves lets them put an extra land into play, but that just told me they don't have an extra land to put into play. Good to know, good to know. How about this? It's Calix time again. Get that +1/+1 counter on yourself. Swing in for 4. Doesn't really matter if they block or not, it's just 4 damage. We don't have anything we're copying off Calix because this does not have an enchantment on it. Yet. And Yadaro, they'll get to draw a card this time. And they've destroyed my commander. Again. Maybe it's time for this Sterling Grove. I don't know. It's starting to get to that point. We're going to get out Ancestral Mask. Make this grow. And the reason I did it in this order is because the Shroud would have made it so I could not target my Weaver had I played this first. So now we have an 8/8 that can't be targeted by either player. That's only going to get bigger with the more enchantments we get on the battlefield. Grow from the Ashes gets them 2 untapped mana since it was kicked. A Wedding Announcement. This gets bigger. An Arcane Signet. I don't see anything to seal here. We'll swing for 10. Who's bigger? The Elder Dinosaur? Or just a pretty little snake? Atali comes out and they're going to be getting the top card of each player's deck. So they found Michiko's Reign of Truth. That's a saga that will buff Atali until end of turn. And Swiftfoot Boots. If they had 1 more mana, they could give Atali haste. Looks to me like we're going to be forcing them into either a block or just winning the game. Or, ooh, style points. I'll just go for Seal from Existence. We'll seal away, seal away, seal away. Weaver of Harmony currently a 14/14. We swing in for 15 damage, and that's game. Our opponent is here too. Awoo! Just for you, it's Tovolar Dire Overlord, the werewolf commander. Well, one of the werewolf commanders, but definitely the best werewolf commander that we've got in Arena. Tovolar Dire Overlord can force werewolves to transform and can draw cards whenever a wolf or werewolf deals damage to an opponent. My personal hope is that Tovolar will become a coward. That's right, I've got a reprobation in hand, and we could turn him into a reprobate, making into an 0-1 with no other abilities. We also have a little more removal with Seal Away, and I just got some ramp off Sanctum Weaver. All these are really great cards to have together. Since they're in Ghoul, I do expect some burn, some removal. There it was, Abrade. I have indeed been abraded. But also, like, totally married. Yeah, destroy this! Love is impervious to fire and hammers. Well, not entirely. A little. Probably could be more impervious, actually. Werewolf Pack Leader. Well, we could just hold up our Seal Away for that, but... is that what I want to do? Or do I want to play Calix to set up for later in the turn? In the trenches, get some +1/+1 counters. No, I'm just going to pass the turn. They don't have a day-night trigger right now, so it's not going to transform any werewolves. And I think it's fine for me to play reactively here. Ooh, a forest! A goose! Hit me with your best, wolf! We sealed it away! I guess I'll turn one of these humans into a 2/2. Swing in with both. The Gilded Goose can just block the 1/1, that's fine. But there's not that many werewolves with haste. There's, like, 4 of them in Arena. One of them can give other cards haste, too. Kinda nice. And this transforms into Wedding Festivity! Now my creature's all getting +1/+1. And Tovolar's out, but there's no other werewolves. Domri can fight. Would you like to fight my human? My commander? Are we trading? We're trading Calix for Tovolar! That's fair. This Domri also can make creatures uncounterable, which is great against a deck that's not my deck. But I don't think he's going to live that long, because I think we should attack him with our variety of tokens here. Calix, would you like to come back out? Maybe the Kami of Transience? I'm going to play the Kami of Transience, followed by In the Trenches. And I'm going to swing both of these at Domri. I know that's a lot of damage going to this Planeswalker, but I want to deny them the ramp, and I feel like we already have the stronger board presence here. This can also act as removal. It's this Anthem effect until we do that, though. Look at my beautiful creatures! They're bigger than your wolves, and soon to be even bigger with the Ethereal Armor. I'm going to play Calix. This gets a +1/+1 counter. It gets another +1/+1 counter, and because it has Trample, it's the perfect target for Ethereal Armor. We don't even get to see how big it gets. I think it's going to become like a 14/14. We win the game. The important thing is that we win. GG, Werewolves. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales. This Tamiyo is the one that prevents discard and sacrifice effects. Not that we, as a Selesnya deck, do much of that. And can also bring back cards from the graveyard. This Tamiyo is really good with Scry and Brainstorm effects since you can set up the top of your deck, but she's also really good and unfortunately well known for being played with extra turn cards, specifically Time Warp, because you can just keep bringing it back and go for what a lot of people call the Turbo Fog deck. I'm hoping that that's not what they do, and they're just playing some Simic fun stuff, not Simic rude stuff. Is there even a such thing as Simic fun stuff? We're gonna hope there is. This turn, we've got some odd choices. We can go for Audacity, Ethereal Armor, a big Esper Sentinel, or we could play Sterling Grove to give our enchantments Shroud. Shroud does mean that I won't be able to target my own enchantments with abilities, which is kind of a downside, but it also means our opponent can't do it either. I'm just going to go for the double bulk up of the Esper Sentinel here. They have 4 mana, that's enough to play Tamiyo, and I'm just going to try to get this Calix ready to start copying things. Here we go. Calix out. This is an enchanted creature. We don't need to make it any bigger. It's already 6 power, and it's an Esper Sentinel, so it does have an ability that grows with size. And now we get to make a copy. They made a copy of my Esper Sentinel too. What do we want to copy? Ethereal Armor or Audacity? Let's copy the armor first. And I'm going to throw the armor onto Calix, making Calix into a 7/7, giving us a token copy. And now Esper Sentinel gets a +1/+1 counter. Calix is huge. That was a turn 3. That's turn 3. There's a lot on this battlefield. They do have 5 mana, potentially. This Phyrexian Metamorph can be tapped by the Citadel Stalwart to give them an extra mana here. But whatever they do, I guess it's not enough. I was thinking maybe a River's Rebuke could help save them, but I'd still be drawing a card off of that and off of the Audacity. All in all, a great game. Very fast, very aggressive. Up against Atraxa, Grand Unifier. 7 mana, 7/7. It refills your hand when she enters the battlefield. And if it weren't enough, she's also got Vigilance and Flying and Death Touch and Lifelink. So if you're an aggressive deck, she can absolutely hose you by gaining 7 and then another 7 on blocks. Really, really strong stuff that, personally, I just don't want to think that much about. Atraxa is one of the most common commanders, so you see her a lot, and nobody wants to play against her. I think. Curse of Silence looks like they're going to curse my commander, make him cost 2 more to cast. Means I can't play him on turn 3, but I still need to get another land before I can do much of anything. I feel like we've got a good chance of getting lands, and if not, we have a bunch of removal and some protective spells we can hold up. There we go. Once we get to 3, we can get to 4, since Restoration of Iganjo grabs me a Plains, puts it into hand, and I can play it next turn. Now that we have basic lands too, I've got this Forest in his Plains. Ossification can be used to remove a creature or planeswalker. Oh, I know what it's time for. Sterling Grove, giving my enchantments Shroud. That's going to make it a lot harder for my opponent to interact with my cards. It's also going to make it harder for me to interact with my cards, since Calix can't put +1/+1 counters on himself because he can't target himself because he has Shroud. I know it's weird, but that's the way it rolls. Iganjo coming down as a land, and I think I just want to get something on the board, a Planeswalker Nissa. Now this Nissa, we can destroy this Curse of Silence if we want to get Calix out. We could destroy their Arcane Signet, deny them ramp, or we can start spitting out creatures. I'm going to destroy the Arcane Signet because I know my opponent wants to ramp. I know that my opponent needs to get to 7 mana for the bulk of their value, and since we're split now across an enchantment creature, an enchantment on the back line, and this Planeswalker, it's going to be hard for them to remove everything at once, and that's going to be game. GG Atraxa. The Coldslaw is playing Etali Primal Conqueror, the dino who does the Crimo. Etali enters the battlefield, which means that very good for blinking, making copies of, and then cast the top spell of each player's deck. This can get really big and really scary really fast because it also transforms into a Blightsteel Colossus, an 11/11 with trample and indestructible that deals poison equal to its damage. Etali is really strong and needs to be respected and feared. Same with Sithis, needs to be respected and feared. So our opponent is going to be ramping over here, but we can ramp too. Sanctum Weaver gets bigger with every single enchantment we have on the battlefield. I'm actually going to protect it, give it that little bit of boosted toughness, because I really want to play Mirari's Wake next turn. Cold Steel Heart. Llanowar Elves. Almost everything on the low end of the deck will be ramp and small bits of removal. Okay, Ragavan, you know what? You can exile the top card of my deck. It's a land! You got a treasure! Congratulations! You know what I got? Beautiful sparkly glitter. Mirari's Wake. I'm going to start with the Wake. Tapping the Sanctum Weaver for this to double the amount of mana that we get off of these. We're going to make Calix a little bit bigger. Ooh, we have so many choices here. Do I want to banish? Do I want to seal away? I'm going to start with some glitter. I'm going to remove all your blockers, rather than just exile that Incubation Druid. Swing in, we're going to make a copy of a card. Which do we want to copy? The All That Glitters or the Mirari's Wake? Wake me up inside. I've got double the mana. Well, triple the mana, I should say. And I've got so much value off of this. Even if they got a single target removal, they have so many targets they have to go after. The Calix, the Sithis, the Wake, the Weaver. That's going to be GG with 2 bad hits off of Vitali. Jana Purifying Blade, a life gain commander that's almost never used as a life gain commander. Jana Purifying Blade lets you pay X mana at the end of your turn and draw X cards, where X has to be less than or equal to the amount of life that you gain during the turn. So you'd think, oh, so like Trelasara, you get lots of little life gain things and you pay mana so you can get more stuff to gain you more life. No, this is almost always a Bant control deck, which means you should play against it going in thinking it's not going to be about creatures, it's going to be about planeswalkers. Looks like they started with a cycle that cast out going to the graveyard. We've got 2 different forms of ramp here. I'm going to use Wolf Willow Haven, throw that onto my plains. This now taps for white, generating an extra green. And we've got 4 mana for next turn, which we could use for, I don't know, Satyr Champion and Elvish Mystic, or Tribute to the World Tree and Elvish Mystic. Actually, I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't have quite that much green. Satyr Enchanter. Elvish Mystic. Calix Elvish Mystic. Got so many choices. They're looking at my commander and saying, I don't trust this guy. Yeah, you shouldn't. He makes copies of enchantment. It's scary. Replicating Ring. Nice, that's going to get them some more mana. Also means they could potentially have Wash Away up right now. So I am going to play accordingly. Satyr Champion and Elvish Mystic. Champion will be drawing me a card, getting a +1/+1 counter each time we have an enchantment enter the battlefield. And Elvish Mystic just taps for mana. Ooh. I noticed your priority changed once we had something on the battlefield. A Swords to Plowshares, an unsummon effect. What could it be? Something like that. Could also be something that just can only target a creature, even if it's a good thing for your own creatures. If something says, say, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, it will only allow you to hold priority once your opponent has one on the battlefield. Ooh, Explore. You can always put on full control mode if you're trying to bluff. A Foretold spell. Is it card draw? Board wipe? Extra turn? Or counter spell? It's almost always those. We want to get Calix out? I want to get Calix out. Here he is! Calix, put a +1/+1 counter on the champion. Got a Banishing Light here. I don't actually have a great thing for copying. Like, I can copy my Wolf Willow Haven here. I guess that's kind of fun. Wish I had more white sources. Yeah, go for the Turbo Champion. Ooh, a Sithis! Wolf Willow Haven. Yup. Put it onto that forest. And use that to play Tribute to the World Tree. Wolf Willow Haven, by the way, does stack. So you can throw multiple of them onto a single land, so you can tap it, and each one of those will generate an additional green mana. So that was our turn 4. We built up a really good battlefield, and we are kind of saying, hey, you have to get rid of me, or I'm going to keep doing this. So it's a Doomscar. We knew it was probably a board wipe or extra turn, and now we know. It was Doomscar. Board wipe it is. We have the Sentinel's Eyes, able to be recast from the graveyard. I don't have anything with haste, though, so I don't really have to rely on Calix. I'm going to start with Sithis. Sithis gets bigger. Thank you, Tribute to the World Tree. We're going to get this +1/+1 counter. Tribute to the World Tree. Sees Calix has 3 power and draws me a card, rather than putting the +1/+1 counters on him. Had we chosen to put the counters onto Sithis, it would have let me just put 2 +1/+1 counters onto Calix. A little bit of flexibility with Tribute to the World Tree. Do you have another board wipe or any other removal? Sithis is drawing me cards. Calix will start cloning things. We even have removal, though it gives them more land, for the Replicating Ring if it gets close to 8 counters. Ooh, Dungeon Map? Dungeon Map. This only taps for colorless mana, but it lets you venture into the dungeon. Sure. Banishing Light. There is no dungeon. There's never been a dungeon. And I am removing this from the game. You have no mana. And you've never had mana. Swinging in with these two. I really don't want to commit more to the battlefield than I feel I have to. I'm gonna make another Banishing Light. Take out the Replicating Ring. No mana, no problems. Play this Llanowar Elf. And I'm just holding mana open for this cast out, in case there's something that needs to be exiled from the battlefield before my turn. Now, it could be just another board wipe. We don't know what to expect. Shana. And a Mox Amber. Before that resolves and they can tap it for mana, I'm going to cast Out. Removing their Shana, meaning that they don't have a third mana. And I think that's game. They've conceded. GG Shana. Atraxa Crater's Voice. I've got discounts. Jukai Naturalist in my hand makes my enchantment spells cost less. Got a little ramp off that Arcane Signet too. But I'm looking forward to playing up against Atraxa and her many proliferated, probably planeswalkers. This is a 4-mana 4/4 Flying Vigilance Death Touch lifelink that proliferates an end step, which can be used with Poison. Ooh, lots of P sounds going on here. And Planeswalkers. Also, +1/+1 counters. Are you seeing the theme here? There's a lot of P going on. Maybe the Praetors were just really all about P noises. Oh, they got rid of my Kenrith's transformation. That's not actually what I expected. I'm happy to see it, but sure. Atraxa being turned into an elf would be pretty bad for them, since I don't necessarily need to remove it, and they would be losing out on that proliferate value. Temple Garden, they didn't shock it in, so they don't have anything for turn 2 here. We're going to announce a wedding. Not going to play Calix quite yet. Nice. Audacity means that Calix coming out next turn could be really fun, though. By the way, there was a recent change to the rules in Magic the Gathering that is relevant to this next turn. If you make a token copy of a two-sided card, it can now transform, which is relevant because I'm about to play Calix. Be rather audacious with this Jukai Naturalist. Swing at face. I'll also hit a Wrenn and Realmbreaker here. And make a token copy of Wedding Announcement. Even more +1/+1 counters. Apparently, my wedding, though fabulous, invited the Azorius, and they made a supreme verdict of nobody's allowed to have fun ever again. Which is rude. I would have liked to have had fun there. We have an Anointed Procession, which I actually think is just a really great card to play here while we have the 2 wedding announcements out. Since now each of these is going to make 2 humans. So we have 4 humans. This flipped over. And next turn this will flip over and give us even bigger human tokens. Teferi can phase something out, gets to draw and discard. I don't really feel like I need to play Calix here, since I don't have anything that would be enchanted this turn. So instead I'm going to go for the Kami of Transience, Arcane Signet, Sentinel's Eyes. I'm actually putting that onto the Kami of Transience. And I'll swing at Teferi with those, and at their face with that. That way, even if they plus, Teferi will die. And I want to make sure they just don't have Planeswalkers to proliferate when they play this Atraxa. Since I attacked with more than 2 creatures, we will not be getting the tokens, which is kind of a bummer. But we will be drawing a card. Also, hopefully, no board wipe. Get the Avacyn's Pilgrim out. Flips over, and we're now threatening lethal damage. River's Rebuke. Now we're not threatening lethal damage. Everything goes back into my hand and resets the value I was getting. Okay. Rude, first of all. Second of all, I hope you like triggers, because we're going to get some right now. I'm going to throw the Sentinel's Eyes onto the Kami of Transience, make our Trampler the big scary thing, and use Nessian Wanderer to try and find a land and fail to find a land. I still have one more land in hand, but I don't really feel like I need to be ramping here. Loads of mana. Is it time for Atraxa? Maybe another Planeswalker? Hopefully not another board wipe? Oh. I think I see what's happening. A creature, an enchantment, a land, and an artifact walk into a bar. And did they all get destroyed? I see 6 mana up! I see 2 green, 2 black. Is that a Casualties of War in your hand? Or are you just happy to see me? Sometimes you, learn to notice when your opponent is hovering all of your cards at the same time. Yes, I'll put that back into my hand. But I'm not happy about it. I was using those cards. I'm going to make so many eyes. I'm going to put a +1/+1 counter onto you. We're going to get a Plains. Use the Sentinel's Eyes, throw it onto the Wanderer, exile 2 cards from my graveyard. That's why I have Sentinel's Eyes in this deck, because it's reusable. Make the Wanderer even bigger, swing in. Get that cave, that sounds good. Make a copy of Sentinel's Eyes. Yes, please. Throw it onto Calix. Calix is going to grow. We're going to get bigger. We're going to have more, stronger attackers. Force them to trade with Atraxa. That's going to be GG. Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge. This was a box topper that's all about having tons of artifacts on the battlefield. So we have artifacts versus enchantments. And if you've ever heard me talk about the Claw, that's the deck I'm talking about. Tezzeret actually has an animation. This is back when Wizards of the Coast actually put animations in the game of a big claw coming down on his +2 ability. He gives creatures and planeswalkers affinity for artifacts, meaning they get discounted for the number of artifacts once he's on the battlefield, which is also kind of cool. I feel like this is going to be a fairly strong deck since you can support it with counter spells and kill spells, since Tezzeret's in Dimir colors, but Calix is strong too. I don't think this will be an unfair fight, so let's get rowdy and start with Calix Guided by Fate. He puts a +1/+1 counter on himself. He is a 3/3. And now we're vibing, we're chilling, we're hanging, and we're waiting. Surge Engine! This thing can become unblockable. It's a cool artifact, but I think it's an artifact that we're going to remove. Calix, still on the battlefield. It is possible, by the way, that they have a Fatal Push. Fatal Push will be able to kill Calix once we remove something from their battlefield. So we'll swing in. And do they push it? They do not. Okay. Calix lives. We get to make a copy of our borrowed time. I am going to copy it, despite there not being a target for it. This is entirely because I have a couple cards that care about the number of enchantments on the battlefield, and it's also good for something like this Calix, Destiny's Hand, using the -3 ability and spreading out where we're keeping our cards. So if they bounce or destroy one of these permanents, not everything under it comes back as like a big party bag. Woohoo! Instead, it'll be like, oh, there's one under here and there's one under here. We've got Tamiyo's Safekeeping now. Allows me to protect this Calix. I will play this Calix, Destiny's Hand. Plus to try and find some spicy enchantments. Ancestral Mask, Dryad, and all the glitters. I'm going to take the Mask, but I'm not playing it this turn since I don't have enough mana, but it will stack really nicely with Ethereal Armor. Since we have this Tamiyo's Safekeeping, we're also not entirely safe, but we're fairly safe here. Targeted removal will be dodged. Okay, Otawara, they want to bounce that back into my hand, and I'm going to say, no, you cannot do that. I have a really big Calix. He's swinging in for 10 first striking damage. We can make a copy. Sure, another borrowed time. That just gets me another trigger onto Calix. I could have done the armor, but I don't actually think that makes a difference since the armor's already lethal. If they play a permanent, we can remove it. I shouldn't say a permanent. I can only get rid of creatures or enchantments. And that's going to be GG. They did have cards, but we had protection and we had aggro. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Brawl Stars. As always, if you'd like to watch me record these live, you should come over to twitch.tv/Amazonian, where we get to do fun things like brew the decks, we get to vote on which deck to build, and we get to hang out and play formats other than Historic Brawl. Yes, I've been playing a little bit of one of my old Explorer decks, which just got a big boost. I'm talking about Elementals with the new Nissa as a new Lotus Cobra. I thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for supporting my channel by coming and hanging out. Believe it or not, YouTube is not something I expected to be as successful as it was, and I would be nowhere near as successful as a creator without you watching these videos, so thank you. If there is a commander you would like to see, especially one from March of the Machine: The Aftermath or another recent set, please let me know in the comments. Thank you again for watching, and have a brawlful day.